Bahamas.
You have all over the floor. No, somebody else.
Nope. I'm Herb, and this is Heather. We're post-career empty nesters who found the next phase of our lives lacking. Inspired by other YouTubers, we bought a small fixer-upper sailboat and spent 2 years building her into our traveling home. Now we're about to find out if it was all worthwhile. Subscribe and come along on our next adventure as we set sails to rediscover what's really necessary to live a meaningful life.
The wind into myself, away from things I let go, floating on the waves. We go bottoms up, we go all the way. When you're feeling down, push the pain away. We go bottoms up, we go all the way.
We're in the Bahamas. So how did we get here? Well, the real story starts a couple of days before. We left Marathon's Boot Key Harbor without incident, saying goodbye to friends and sailing out into Hawk Channel to avoid all the crab pots that crowd the inland waters this time of year. The seas were a bit rough and Heather wasn't enjoying it much, but we just needed to move a little further up the coast to narrow the open ocean distance of our eventual crossing. There are a number of reasons for this, but the biggest for me is that we can drop anchor in the shallows close to shore, giving us the opportunity to stop and sleep before the longest leg of our passage.
Tell us about your anchoring, or our anchoring. Where are we?
Our anchoring, yeah.
Where did we end up?
We came through. Well, we wanted to get to Long Key from where we are. That's actually behind us now. But with wind direction, it's kind of blowing right into Long Key. Long Key just makes kind of a C shape here in this middle of the Keys. It's the halfway point to catch up with folks. It's kind of the target for the day, unless things were just ideal or we got really aggressive, and well, we didn't really have that kind of day. But pulled in toward Long Key. That was you know, kind of again the destination. A little sporty on that side. Went underneath the bridge, came just inside of this anchorage. I don't actually think this has a name. We're still kind of, you know, I don't know what this would be, north or east of Long Key. I'll show my YouTube cred and tell you that I picked this spot because Sailing Solianis left an anchor review on this spot saying they've been here twice on Navionics. So just thought I'd you know, follow in their footsteps. We'll see what it's like on this side. It's actually really calm on this side. So you know, anchoring was smooth. We're down.
The anchoring was smooth, but we did encounter our first problem along the way.
I went to the bathroom, and this is pretty embarrassing to discuss, but the toilet would not flush. So at first we thought, well, maybe it's just backed up. And I decided, since I was the last one to use the toilet, I would be the one to go in and try to solve the problem. So anyways, it just became, we called it Operation Storm, and had to empty the toilet, had to then undo the hose line, and come to find out, the tube, I thought it was seashells coming out, but it turns out it was calcification in there. So lesson learned on that we need to add vinegar every week or so to prevent the calcification in plumbing lines. But let me just tell you how disgusting it is when you have all over the floor, just everywhere.
The evening was mostly filled with janitorial duties, which will spare you. Suffice it to say, we woke up on anchor to calmer seas and a renewed mission to catch up to our buddy boats at Rodriguez Key.
lunch spot.
Yep. Great meetup spot.
We hope people are still here.
Famous Rodriguez Key.
Rodriguez Key was to be the meetup spot and the jumping off location for Bimini. But when we arrived, none of our buddy boats were there. As concerning as this might sound, we actually had a bigger issue. We've managed to put a tear in our Genoa sail. We rely heavily on our sails, and the thought of not having one operable, a sailboat with damaged sails, well, let's just say this is not a good situation on any day, but certainly not the day before a major passage. We now had a new priority: making sail repairs. The easterly swell would make taking down sails and sewing seams on deck a little bit of a tougher job. We were originally planning a night passage to the Bahamas, and despite the fact that now we'd be doing it all alone, the weather window really hadn't changed. So we resolved to just continue with our plans, looking for a calmer anchorage to make repairs. Tavernier Key, back in the direction we had just come from, appeared to be our best option, and while motoring back, we suddenly remembered our old marina and the friends that we had nearby. Change of plans. Again.
Try this. Hang on just a second.
Where's the actual tear?
Right here by my foot. Not pretty.
Function over fashion every time.
So with all our chores done, it was time to hit the road. Like we had planned on leaving around, I don't know, between 3 and 4. We ended up leaving the marina about 5 o'clock in the evening.
What?
Feels like the land should be further away. Not really. Leave that out to the window.
But we're sailing. How do you feel the crossing went?
Oh, I thought it went good. It was, it started a little slow. The weather hadn't caught up to the prediction, or the prediction was earlier than the weather, however you want to say that. But, you know, we turned the motor on to just kind of, we were a little concerned maybe we were moving a little slow, so turned the motor on and motor sailed for a little bit. And that picked up plenty of speed for us. And then the wind arrived, and that kept going until the Gulf Stream, which added even more speed. So we actually arrived here a little bit earlier than we anticipated. Had to kind of hover outside the harbor and wait for places to open up before we came in. But you know, it's a nighttime crossing, so really calm. I mean, like 1 foot waves. It's just really calm, very clear. We had some commercial traffic, some cargo ships and things like that to look after or look out for. A lot of cruise ships. We saw a lot of cruise ships coming in, but you know, it's pretty uneventful, just good conversation, staying awake.
So before we left for the crossing, what were your biggest concerns or worries?
What was I worried about on the crossing? Everything. You know, I mean, we're pretty self-reliant because we live on a boat. So I got to be the captain and the navigator and the chief engineer and the guy who improvises stuff. So, you know, I guess I'll worry about everything a little bit. What decisions we made, kind of what's coming up, do we continue along? Probably not any different than any worries anybody else has.
The crossing was wonderful. It was way better than I expected. The water was really smooth. The winds weren't perfect, but they weren't bad. We had to motor sail a bit. But for the most part, it was just so much better than I expected. Though staying awake all night, after being awake all day, I was exhausted when I got here. So that was the biggest issue, was staying awake. But we did it, and we made it. This was a major milestone for us to get to Bimini, so we hope you really liked the video, and if you did, please push that like button.
Yeah, and we really appreciate all of you that have already subscribed, and if you haven't, please hit the subscribe button down below. It's free for you, and it really, really does help us out. And now that we're here, we're going to get out and explore a little bit more of Bimini, so we will see you next episode.
Shaking through my car, left me in the cold.